Current assembly list. Recently, I had a lot of this yogas and stuff. Plus, we want to give importance to that also. That's in our last page. And we are incorporating the activities.
Okay.
And this is sort of a general lesson plan, kind of how to inspire. Like it's just a guideline. If someone is wanting to follow that, I think it was, I already emailed them 2 weeks ago.
Hari Om. It's really good to see all of you. And I'm sure on a Saturday morning, you probably would have wished to continue the nap a little longer. And I am also sure that many of you were both parents are teachers. You had to do something with your kids. Maybe you had some kind of Aladdin's genie, says, you take care of the kids and you come off. I'm sure you're having enough friends to take care in spite of all that being here. And that was from your side. If you all can move in closer and move in forward as well. Hari Om Maharaj. From my side, when I look at this gathering, whenever I travel across in US and Canada, one of the usual questions that is asked is, many of them know that Chinmay Mission is all over the place, and the first question that they ask is, oh, do you have Balavihar in Dallas? I said, yeah, we do have. How big is your Balavihar? So I tell them that we have about 220, and I pause there. And I look at them. Oh, 220 kids? No, 220 teachers. Now you go imagine as to how many number of kids we will be having. So when I say that, it is almost like a proud parent's feeling. Like when you brag about your kid. So it is right from beginning that we started this Balavihar. I came in and became a part of this system here in 2002. I'd love to call this gathering as the Khas Janta. Like in Akbar's court, he had 2 courts. One was called Diwane Am, which happens on Saturday and Sunday. And then he had a special court of all his special courtiers. And he called them as Diwane Khas. So I call this as my Diwane Khas. Because without the teachers, without all of you, there is no backbone to the system. And the best part in this system is everyone is a volunteer. Everyone is a sevak or a sevika. We do not do this, what we do, because it improves our bank balance, but it definitely improves our punya quotient. It is not even for that, I believe, that we all do what we do. It is because we are passionate for this cause, so that that which we treasure can be given to the next generation, not just generations, not just a generation. Because right here, the last batch or the first batch of graduates that graduated from here, they now are married. It was 14 years ago. They now have children, and they are a part of Balavihar here. So I've been seeing generations, and I'm sure this generation's trend will continue with all the tireless support that you all give. Now, when I look at my life versus yours, I cannot tell you how much I treasure what you bring into this environment. Because my life in 93, when I decided to join the ashram, I have nothing else but to do this day in and day out. 24/7, it is the same job. But whereas for you, you all, you come in from various backgrounds, embedded in throbbing life happening, whether it is in your personal lives, your family life, your professional lives, your social circles, all that put together, and Monday through Friday, constantly working. And I know many of you who fly out on Sunday evening or Monday morning and come back on Friday evening to catch up, and you hardly get 2 days in between. And in those 2 days, you spend a day with Balavihar system. And it is not just one such Sunday or Saturday, but it is on a regular basis for about 36 to 38 weeks continuously. And that shows the dedication. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for what you do in whatever capacities that you do. A thanks would not be sufficient. And this I am saying on behalf of not just myself or the organization, but I'm saying it on behalf of the entire generation. They at this point may or may not understand what they're benefiting from. They at this point may want to reject, rebel, uh, get provoked, throw tantrums. Usually it happens from middle school onwards. I don't want to go there. Why do I have to get up? I don't know. Why? Every Saturday, Sunday morning, when you pick them up and bring them, they may be feeling tortured, not just pressured, tortured. They may not understand what they are getting, what they are benefiting. But I'm sure the moment they step out, I think I would say there was this kid, and he was a self-professed atheist coming to Balavihar. Why? Because his parents were dragging him every Sunday. And he was an avid debater. To add to that angst, he was an avid debater, national level debater. And every opportunity that he would get, with every brand of teachers that were provided to that class, he would fry them alive with his questions. And he would make sure that he would participate in every lock-in, high school and middle school lock-in, because that was one opportunity to fry me alive with his questions. And he would come with such, and his arguments were not arbitrary. He would come well researched, he had done enough study, and he would nail me in, corner me in. I would find it very difficult to come out of that corner. I mean, that was how his 12 years were here. and his mother was always feeling very bad that what to do with this kid. And you may know her, Shashi Chanani, right? Her son, Vishal Chanani, brilliant kid, and he was always ready to nail everything down. Haji? Unfortunately, he chose to go out and he's doing a double major in law or something. He is doing in Harvard and MIT or something like that. So he is of a different category. I would wish that I would have put him down in. So after he left 12th grade, so one day I get a call. So usually unmarked numbers or that which are not in my direct, I don't pick. I leave it for the voicemail. And I said, Swamiji, this is Vishal. You may remember me, Vishal Chanani. I said, okay. You may be shocked, if not surprised, why I am calling you. So hold your breath. This is the voice message. I said, ab kya kar baitha? What did he end up doing? So he says, Swamiji, you may be shocked to know that here I am the Hindu Student Association president now. First year into college, he is already a Hindu Student Association president. And that is not the shocker that may have surprised you. The shocker is the coming month we have a Diwali celebrations, and I want to take it upon myself to conduct a puja. I want you to explain every step of it the way you would explain to kids so that they understand, and also train me how to perform the puja. So that was one of the first video conferences that I had in explaining all the the kalash and the puja thali and what are the names of it, and explain all the 16 steps. But that was, I think, one of the proud moments that, yeah, at this point they may not realize, they may not see the benefit. Why do I have to do it? But the moment they have to land on their own feet, I am sure, I am very confident that what we teach, what we put in an effort for 13 long years does come to reap the benefit. And the credit goes to every one of you sitting here as a teacher, as an administrator, as a volunteer, as a sevak and sevika here. So seeing all this, I cannot tell you how much thankful I am every day to have such a strong sevak and sevika base that the Balavihar program runs seamlessly. That it is now in a cut and paste kind of a mode. That, oh, you have to run a Balavihar, this is the way it has to run. It has been experimented and tested in multiple ways, that it is a very beneficial thing that you are participating in. This is from the student side. Now from the teacher side, which is what I will focus on as to what are our benefits and how do we make sure that we reap every benefit of it, being a teacher. Once we understand the basic need of being a teacher, then the teaching becomes easy. So let us start the day with a prayer, 3 times Om, Sahana Bhavatu, Guru Brahma, and then we will start. Oh सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। There was a time when we would start the teachers' training with each one trying to introduce. But when the numbers are so swelling, I think this alone will take its own time. There are seats on the other side. Please come in all the way. Don't just sit there. Come in all the way. There is enough space here. Keep moving forward. Wow. It almost sounds like I'm speaking to a Balavihar session wherein the numbers are swelling. And this is not Balavihar, this is Balavihar. This is our strength in display. This is true. This is a very auspicious year for all of us in Chinmaya Mission. We get the opportunity to mark, celebrate, recognize the work and life of Pujya Gurudev, Swami Chinmayanand ji. 100 years ago, or 99 years ago, because 100th year will be on 2016, so the entire year will be celebrated towards it. So 99 years ago, Balakrishna Menon was born. At that time, a bright, mischievous kid, as naughty as you can get in India. And his mischief was not anything less, aptly named, I would say, Balakrishna. That there is in his life, there is an episode that in his college, he was focusing more on tennis and he had missed more than a couple of sessions of a particular teacher. And though he had aced the exam, but for absence from the classes, he was sure to not make it to the next level. So he asked his friends as to what is his routine. And one of them mentioned that he visits this particular temple every Tuesday. So that Tuesday, Gurudev, as Balakrishna Menon, I'm talking of his mischief. So he reached there ahead of time very early and with all the Veshabhusha, all the tilak, everything done. And this was in Lucknow. And this teacher comes in, the professor comes in, and he immediately, goes there, sits there, and as if he is meditating. And then as the teacher walks past him, he also gets up and he looks at him, and the teacher looks at him and says, "You come to this temple?" He says, "I come to this temple every Tuesday. I am an early to bed, early to rise kind of a person, so I come very early. Today I was delayed." And that made an impression on that teacher, that he, when the next week went to get his attendance, you know, excused, he said, "Oh, you are that same guy at the temple, right? Don't worry, I'll pass you." So with all this mischief, then he becomes immensely involved in the freedom struggle after he had his law and journalism masters done. He was actually escaping from, there was a warrant on his name, and he escaped to northern India. And he was in Kashmir, he was in various other places. Finally lands up in a place called Abbottabad. Abbottabad now is in Pakistan. How many of you recognize the place Abbottabad? Why do you recognize it? That was where Bin Laden was killed. So that Abbottabad. There, he was escaping, trying to escape this warrant on his name. And while escaping, he got into a interview tent. He didn't realize that he was in an interview tent by the British agencies, who were trying to hire someone as a personal secretary for the commander there in Abbottabad. And looking at his, he knew shorthand, he knew typewriting, and he was a journalist. So he was impressed that an Indian with such kind of skills and fluent English, he immediately appointed him as his personal secretary. And for next 2 years, right under their nose, avoided being caught. And at that time, he was working as a double agent. So that being a personal secretary, all the communication that he would receive, he would send it back to Delhi. And one such communication was caught, and he was caught. And then he was imprisoned, and that prison system was plagued with plague. And very deplorable conditions that they had put them in. Many would die. And Gurudev was so sick that almost fainted. They thought he was dead. So they put him in the pile of dead bodies in the truck, which would take these bodies outside and dump them in some ditch. And he regained his consciousness and crawled himself out, again fainted on the roadside. And that is where Gurudev would say that, when you observe his nose, it has a very peculiar sharp shape, especially there you can see it. He says, "This sweet nose of mine is what protected me." Because the lady who picked him up was a Anglo-Indian whose son had passed away in the World War. And there was a striking resemblance of her son and then Balakrishna Menon, because both their noses matched. And that was the reason why she had stopped to take a keen interest in this person lying on the roadside, and helped him recover his health. And then he came into active journalism. Having come into active journalism, he came across these articles by Swami Shivananji about Shivananji, and he was intrigued. Why would somebody leave a thriving business he used to make tens and thousands of rupees in Malaysia in those days. Why would somebody leave and become a monk? Unless there is something else hidden, because that must be the front end, but in the back end there must be something else that he must be gaining. So he went to investigate. He thought his investigation would be sufficient for 3 days, but then the frankness, openness, and the straightforwardness with which Swami Shivananji ran the institution The first time around, he stayed there for a month and a half or so. 3 days became month and a half. Then he came back regularly. It was like he was on a new high. And intoxicated with Vedanta, he would come back regularly. And in one such occasion, Shivananji gave him the opportunity to compile a souvenir for the celebrations of the ashram. And in that, there was this article, and he was asked to speak on that article. And it was on Kathopanishad. That really opened up his eyes to the Upanishads. And when he finally decided to take sannyasa, he was asked to get a written permission from his father that it was okay to take sannyasa. Which after, it's a very, like, when you see someone who is a sannyasi, you say, "Wow, you are blessed. Wish we had known what you have known when we were then young. We would have never gotten married." I'm not making this up. I have heard it myself when people have spoken those words to me directly. And when we see someone else's child become a sannyasi, we say that, we say to the parents that your family, 7 generations there, 7 generations here, are blessed. But when one's own child leaves, it is not that easy. So their father protested and said, "You are such a useless fellow. You are." He tried to convince him. He had his other cousins who knew his eventual growth, and they also suggested that he would suit. And finally, relent when he gave in and said permission is given. So on a beautiful Shivaratri day, and that Shivaratri day is a memorable one because all those who were given sannyasa that day by Swami Shivananji, they all became stalwarts in 8 other big institutions in the name of spirituality. To name a few would be Swami Krishnanandji, Swami Venkateshanandji, Swami Chidanandji. All 3 of them were the presidents of Divine Life Society after Swami Shivananji Maharaj. Then Swami Vishnu Devananda, he is also called the Flying Swami because he retired from Indian Air Force and he took sannyasa that day, and wherever he would travel, he would fly his own flight. Now we talk about a monk who sold a Ferrari. Now here is a monk who flies his own flight. Therefore, he was known as the Flying Swami. Then Swami Satyanandji, who started the yoga school, Bihar School of Yoga, very famous one in the field of yoga. So there are various such stalwarts who initiated various such institutions that is spread worldwide. And that day, after having gained sannyasa, Shivananji said, it is better that you learn with a personal tutoring from Swami Taponam Maharaj. So Swami Shivananji gave the Diksha, but the Siksha was given by Swami Taponam Maharaj. So Diksha Guru is Shivananji, Siksha Guru is Swami Taponam Maharaj. He stayed with him for about 2.5, 3 years and learning all the Vedantic stuff. Nothing at this comfort level. Because as soon as we walked in, the room was hot and we lowered the AC. Now everybody is feeling a little cold, right? Hint, hint. The temperature badao. Everybody is like... It was not with this kind of a comfort zone that there was a roofed environment. Swami Tapona Maharaj was a very unusual teacher, that he would not just walk the talk, but also talk the talk while walking. So he was an avid trekker, that he would trek different parts of Himalayas, and while talking, his students, that's why no student would linger around him more than few weeks. It's a very tough way to learn. And he would be walking, and while giving an expose about various aspects of scriptures, and when there is some reference that he wants his students to spell out, remember in those days there was no recording devices, and while walking, how much can you write? So you have to be a eka santagrahi, like you listen once and grasp it. On the side, he was also learning his Sanskritam. So thus he learned from Swami Taponam Maharaj for 3 years. Now Taponam Maharaj had trekked through the entire Uttarakhand so well that when the National Geological Survey of India, they wanted to map out that Uttarakhand, they approached Swami Tapona Maharaj for his advice. Instead of advice, he just mapped the entire range. He drew the entire range and gave it. That even today we use the maps of that Uttarakhand was drawn by Swami Tapona Maharaj. So in his honor, above Gangotri, Gangotri is the place where Gangaji begins. Actually, Gomukh, about 20 kilometers above that. Above that, there is all glaciers. And amidst that glaciers, there is one plain plateau. This is about 16,000 feet. There are two plateaus. One is called Nandanavan. And you cross that Nandanavan, there is another beautiful plateau in August, September season. The beautiful flowers that grow there. That place is named Tapovanam after Swami Tapovanam Maharaj. So, having studied with him for 3 years, there was a kind of a responsible guilt in Swamiji's heart, Swami Chinmayanandaji's heart, Gurudev's heart. Why do I call it a responsible guilt? Because he was one of those elite few who had the honor of being educated and very well educated. He had done his journalism, he had done his master's in English, then as a lawyer. So he was one of those who had very well educated. And he was about 35, 36 years old. And that is when the beauty of scriptures really dawned on him, that our scriptures have everything in it for making our life the most happy one, rather than to endure, to enjoy it. And that knowledge, being in Sanskrit, was given only to a handful selected few who they thought were qualified because of race, because of gender, because of caste. He said, this is not how the scripture should be entitled for few. And then he convinced his Guru Maharaj to bring this knowledge down. And he was the first one who coined Jnana Yajna, to bring this knowledge wherein everybody benefits. So that day in 1950, when he started in Pune with a huge gathering of 5 people, including the speaker, this is what he writes to Swami Tapona Maharaj. Today I mark the beginning of my endeavors, and I had a huge gathering of 5 people, including myself. The other 2 were from the family where he was hosted. The third one was the priest, who had no choice. and the fourth one was probably waiting there for prasad. Probably. But the word spread so fast that by the third day, the crowds were so swelling that the little temple could not handle. So the entire street in front of the temple was cordoned off, and there was a small mini dais kind of a thing built, and he shifted himself out. And all the educated English speaking started attending, mostly so from the naval forces and the army, which is in Pune. There's quite a belt of it. So they all started attending. And it was his first yajna, which went on till 100 days. So he would probably elaborate the basics for about 60, 70 days, and then conclude 2 or 3 Upanishads, having laid down that foundation in the rest of the 40 days. So in the initial days, there were 100 plus days. And when people would ask, why do you speak for that many days? They said, I'm waiting for another city to call me. So once the other city calls, I'll wind up here and go to the other city. Then it became so busy traveling and speaking that these 100 days were now shortened to 7 days. So 7 days, Saptahika, 7 day was the format, which is what we follow even today. And in US, it is the weekend spirituality. So it is usually on the weekends, a different format here. But the Jnana Yajna that he started in 1950 soon spread around, and then Balavihar started, then the Devi group, study group started, and then there were various mission centers that developed, that today we have in 28 countries. And the latest country, I say it with a sense of pride. The 28th country is China. See, I love that reaction. Right across the border from Hong Kong, Indians have spread everywhere. You may not get potatoes, onions, and tomatoes, but you will get an Indian. That is how we have widely spread ourselves. And of those 28 countries, still the highest number of Chinmaya mission centers is in India. And after India, the highest number of Chinmaya mission centers are in US, North America. We have about 55 centers. Of those 55, we have about 28 of them which have an ashram facility like that, like this. And of this 55, the one which was started by Guruji himself, the present head of Chinmaya Mission worldwide, in San Jose, it has the highest number of students. Balavihar, they have about 2400 kids, not 1000, 2400 kids that come every Saturday and Sunday. So in those lists, I would say we are in top 5. We have about 1400 kids. And this year, we will be adding another new session. In this particular session that we have, which will be called S5, Saket 5th session, which will be on Sunday, and it will be from 3:30 to, is it 3:30? 4:30 to 6. 3:30 in my head because the teacher's satsang starts at 3:30. So 4:30 to 6 will be the session. And I am mentioning about it again because I know every one of you is aware of it, is because I truly see this as another experiment a good transitioning experiment, that this particular session will have maximum number of Yuva Kendra members who would be the teachers. Not just that, the first time I'm experimenting with, it would be a Yuva Kendra member who would also be the coordinator of this session. So it will be Ramesh Charu. The reason I have to mention this is the future is not with uncles and aunties. I did not say Dada and Dadi. I was just being very polite in saying uncle and auntie. Haji? Count your blessings. I may be dictatorial, but I am very benevolent. So the next generation is where we see our hope. And if we do not empower them and give them the leadership, I think this would be the beginning to see many more such, wherein the next generation takes a lead and they become an integral part, and then we can sit back truly, unlike the airplanes wherein you don't have actually room to sit back, relax and enjoy. Here we can actually sit back, relax, enjoy, see the next generation take over. And this is truly an experiment wherein I can even show this as an example to the rest of the mission centers across, that the next generation, the youth, are not careless, they are caredless. They are not useless, they are usedless. If we truly put them to task, they would match up, in fact, do par excellence. And that is the hope. So that was not building pressure on you. That was trying to inspire the rest. So now with this little introduction, the purpose for which we have gathered here. There is a beautiful shloka in Bhagavad Gita. This Bhagavad Gita shloka says, Yadyadacharate sreshtaha tattadeve itarajanaha sayat pramanam kurute lokaha tat anuvartate. Yad acharati sreshtaha. Sreshtaha, sreshtha purushaha, those who are considered as an ideal. Now, don't disqualify yourself. There may be one or two who look up to you, and those one or two definitely are your own children, starting from there. Though when the kid is compared to his or her own parent, may try to deny, oh, you do exactly like your mother or father, I am not like that. They immediately try to deny. But you see that the child, though does not like to be compared to one's own parent, intrinsically what they see in their parents is what they are molded to be. Because values are not taught, they are caught. And whatever we have set as an example, they start imbibing it in their lives. So Sreshtaha, every one of us is a Sreshta. Yad acharati, whatever we do. Tad eva itara janaha. Those who are following itara janaha, they try to imitate, they try to imbibe what we set as an example. Now, when we look into the outside market economy, so when we see the trends, now these trends are set by those who we consider as the leaders, don't we? Now, these leaders can be in various formats. They can be athletes, they can be somebody who has done very good in sports, they can be actors, actresses in various fields. And more so because of these sportsmen and the actors and actresses, that we even try to trend our clothing, hairstyle, the spring look, the fall look. Tell me if I'm wrong. Long time ago, when I was in a store to purchase some clothes for our gods. So this girl comes in and she says, I'm interested in a particular kind of lehenga. And this guy immediately said, DDLJ? And it was totally a new kind of vocabulary that they were exchanging. I looked at him. DDLJ, दिल वाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे. So the actresses must have worn some kind of a particular styled lehenga, and said, I want that style lehenga choli. The hairstyle, the nails, the suit, the everything. Yadyadacharate sreshtaha. So whoever we consider as ideal, that we like to follow, and today we have gone beyond these just clothing and hair. We even follow on Facebook, Twitter, right? So whatever the Sreshta does, we try to imbibe. Tat tad eva itara janaha. Sayat pramanam kurute. Whatever trend, pramana that they leave, lokaha tad anuvartate. The entire loka, entire world follows them. Now we have taken up that ideal role, because in this present day and generation, we have lot of models, but what we need is role models. And that responsibility, I don't know if you knew about it or not, while you are signing up to be a teacher, lands squarely in our lap. The first time ever I became a teacher was when I had gone to Gurudev to complain. So I had gone, we were a group of 15, 20 youth who had just started a new Yuva Kendra chapter, outskirts of Hyderabad. And we did not have that many visiting swamis or visiting brahmacharis or even a senior sevak. We had just seen what was happening in the main center in Hyderabad, and we wanted to start something. And the moment we suggested, within these 12 or 15 of us, I was made the president. I was the youngest one. Probably I was the most talkative then too. So I was made so I had given different roles. But there was nobody who could lead us by an example. So I went to Gurudev, and again the loudmouth, me speaking. So I started complaining that you should force them to come and participate sometimes at least in our Yuva Kendra as well. So Gurudev said, why do you need them? So that they can teach us. What are you studying? He said, self-unfoldment. So he leaned backwards in his chair, and in his side table there were a stack of books. So he pulled out the old edition of self-unfoldment in the yellow wrapper, and he signed, and he thrusted it in my hands. So now you are assigned to be the teacher. What do you expect me to speak? I don't know anything. Which is what many of us come in when we sign up to. I don't know. I don't even know if I know or not. So it was the same dilemma that I was going through, that I don't even know if I know. He said, read 5 pages. Read what I have signed. So it was the doctor's prescription. RX, my name. I said, read 5 pages. Pull it down to 1 page of bullet points and contemplate on it for the rest of the week. That which you think you have understood, explain at the end of the week. If you do not understand, repeat this process, repeat this dose until you understand. Love, Swami Chinmayananda. So that was the book that was thrust in my hand with a guidance. And that is when I realized that when we are put on the platform, even those who think they understand, when they are put in the platform of being a teacher, is when truly we come to know what we understand and what we don't. Because when we are in front of the kids, or any gathering for that matter, we usually think from our perspective. However, all encompassing that we want to contemplate, it's still our perspective. And the listener may come from varied backgrounds. And when they listen to what we are speaking, it can pop up various questions which we have not even thought of. And in order to answer that, we should have done enough study to cater to that person without doing Shastra Hani. Now, what is Shastra Hani? Like someone is teaching Ramayana, and when there are these classic questions that they would ask, we are also searching for those answers. And when the student asks a question about those classic questions, what are those classic questions? Little louder. Nah, come on. Why was Sita sent into the fire? Why does Dasharatha have so many wives?
How could she even go to state for complaint around?
Wali's killing, then abandoning Sita to forest again. So these are the classic questions. We are also searching for answers. And when the child comes and asks, and then we cop out by saying, I don't even know if this is a history. Okay. It has some good points to learn, and let's learn only that much. When as a teacher we make that statement, then the Shastra Hani has been done. Instead of bringing in faith in that child, we instill our lack of faith in that child. The children will push us. And I have given you my example. I had spoken on Bhagavatam, the entire Bhagavatam, all the cantos, by then about 6-7 times from the original Vyasakrita Bhagavata. And it was my first camp in US, and I was thrust into an environment. Guruji called me and said, there is a camp in Chicago, come. So I just packed and left. They said, go talk to the organizer, Swami Sharanananda. He will give you a class, teach that class. So I was put in a 4th, 5th grade, and Bala Bhagavatam was the topic. And I started speaking. And that particular day when I started speaking, the story which the other teacher had completed led up to the Vasudeva and Devaki getting married. So I took over from there, that they got married, and Kamsa got a long distance call, wireless call, Akashavani. And because of that Akashavani, he was now ready to kill Devaki. And they pleaded that all that you want is our child. We will give you our child. Eighth child will be yours. Don't kill us. And then Narada comes to explain that in a circle, where is the first and where is the eighth? So Kamsa now gets confused and starts killing all 8 of them. So I narrated this story and what happened, that one kid went missing and how it went missing in the most elaborate manner. This kid, after a whole day's effort, okay, I had 3 or 4 classes. After the 4th class, he was a very patient one. After patiently listening to me, by the evening, he said, I have a question. I said, ask. Was Kamsa a fool or what? I said, that he was. No, that is not my question. The question is, did he not know that he could have avoided this kind of killing if he could have put Devaki and Vasudeva in 2 different prisons? Having spoken on Bhagavad 6-7 times, this angle of perceiving it, that this also could be a choice, I had never thought about it. I was like, true. But I had to gain their confidence again. So first thing that I said was, look, you are a smart kid. If ever I open my own personal political party, I would want you to head the PR. The public relations, I want you to be the head of it. The kid was happy that I recognized his smartness. But that was not what he had asked. So I had to quickly gather up my thoughts to answer him. Again, that which is Shastrokta, according to the Shastra. So I said, look, this is that Vishnu who could appear from an inanimate pillar where there is no need for mother or a father. Inanimate pillar he came in. Oh, that dude, Vishnu. Oh yeah, then he can appear. Even if they were separated in 2 different prisons, he would have come through a prison pillar or a prison gate. That could be a possibility. The kids come from various perspectives, various angles. And when they come with those various angles, we are put to task. And our learning, our research, our growing process in that particular subject, it increases the depth. So we have taken up that role, that responsibility. And unless we are put into that position of teaching, our own understanding doesn't get tested. We may think that I know. Like this kid that I was in India. In India, there is no bar saying that children under certain age should not be in the front seat. They've just started using the seat belts. So this kid was sitting and he was 4 years old. I was driving and he was constantly trying to drive me. Now put the clutch. Now change the gear. Now put it in the lower gear. No, not the second one. Put it in the first one. Constant commentary. Because it seems right since he was born, he loved going in cars and he would be sitting in the lap of the driver and he had seen this so closely that in his head he probably thought he knew how to drive. So one day when he was getting onto my nerves, I stopped the car and said, you drive. No, now you drive. Mera din bhi aayega. My day will also come, but presently you drive. And it was very clear. My feet doesn't reach there. If my feet reaches, I can't see. So now you drive. Which means he has tested it. To know that I can drive, to think that I can drive, and to really drive are two different. Remember those early days when you had to get your license here and you had to do the parallel parking? You have to turn in one side and then turn the other side and then go forward, go backward. It has to be exactly 6 inches away from the curb. That was a nightmare. To logically go through the entire sequence in the video and then practically go do it, two different things. You really get tested when you are out on the field, and being a teacher is a good test. So to be a teacher, what is required, what is of necessity, is the readiness to learn. How many of us have gotten a structured learning process of Hinduism as we were growing up? Raise your hands. Those of you who were in the Balavihar system, put your hands down. 1, 2, 3 other hands. Come inside, don't just sit there, come inside. You're late but welcome. I had to say it. How many of us are seated here today? Everybody is seated, but how many of us are here? "177. 2 latecomers. So 177. Of these 177, 4 who raised their hands were Balavihar children who have now become teachers. And there were 2 more hands that have been raised saying that they have gone through structured learning process of Hinduism. The rest of us, we have grown in a Hindu environment with whatever conveniences the parents have brought up us in. And we have absolutely no introduction to structured Hindu understanding. As a process of teaching, it is first us who learn. Vidya vinayena shobhate. There are 2 meanings for this sentence. One, if we are well learned, it should appear not as the audacity of intellectualization, but it should flow through as humility. This is one. The second meaning is Vidya vinayena shobhate. Who gets the glow of Vidya? Those who start with the humility, and the humility is to learn. That day when we have stopped learning, we have stopped growing. Wherever there is a stagnant environment, what happens when the water stagnates? Stinks. So we become stinking personalities. The humility is in learning. The humility is in taking what we have learnt from the standpoint. At this point, this is my understanding which I am here to share with you. That is what Gurudev would say to us too. That do not go into the world as if you are there to teach them, but rather try to explain what you understand. This is a message to all the brahmacharis who just get initiated. Rather, you go onto the platform trying to explain what you have understood, at your personal level, and how are you able to apply it? Thus, by your own sample, be an inspiration for those who are hearing so that they may also benefit. If they benefit, it is a bonus. You speaking from that platform will give you a better clarity. That is the first benefit. So, as a teacher, the constant yearning to learn. And that is why one of the things that I do unusual as an experiment here than from the other centers is no teacher teaches the same grade permanently. Various centers, and here there's a little difference. There they have assigned teachers for that particular grade and they are with that grade alone. Now, I don't want to run this Chinmay mission as a teaching enterprise. I also want the teachers to get equally benefited out of it. If you're stuck with only one syllabus, yes, you become an expert at it. But what about the rest of it, which will also benefit each one of us individually? Now imagine if anybody asked me to come and give a talk, the only subject that I speak on is Bhaja Govindam. It will be boring. I already feel so because I repeat 5 times the same chapter of Bhagavad Gita on Sunday and Saturday. The same shlokas, different gathering, again and again I have to repeat. But I see it as an opportunity to fine tune. And I see it that the first session where I open up that shloka to the 5th session, my own thought has become clearer. My own expression has become clearer. And that is a learning process that I look forward for, rather than getting stuck in one subject. The entire length and breadth of it helps each one of us nourish the soul from within. Therefore, it is necessary for us to be in that environment so that we can teach as many with various grades. So, in order to teach, the first thing is the ability to learn. Are we ready to learn? And who is your teacher? As I was uttering those words, I knew the confusion that I was causing. The teacher is your own inquisitive enquiry. That is your teacher. I come into picture when your inquisitive enquiry has not yielded any result. Then I come into picture. Even then, many of the Yuva Kendra members, they get frustrated. If you know it, say it. I said, no, my point or my platform is not to give you the answer, but to push you in the right direction so that you find the answers. So one of the Yuva Kendra batch, they gave me a self-sticky kind of a magnet, which said, very funny looking fat guy laughing his heart out, saying, I know all the answers, but I ain't telling you nothing. So the moment I saw this, I knew that it will befit you. The purpose is to usher that mind into a newer realm, to give that direction. If somebody comes with a mango, to say that, I don't know how to squeeze it, what is your job? To teach them how to squeeze it and then suck. Not suck on it and eat it, everything. Aisa khate hain. This is how you eat it. There is no fun in that. Right? That is more fun. Yeah, as a mischief note, I may have done that too. But that is not how you teach. Teaching yields the result. The inquirer needs to get the direction and find that answers within. I was once with the student of Swami Akhandanand Maharaj, who I revere a lot. He is in Vrindavan. His student or his next in line was Swami Govindananda ji. And when I was pestering him for some questions to be answered, he gave me various references, he gave me the direction, but he wouldn't say it. And he made a very remarkable statement. He said, "Beta, मैं जवाब दे सकता हूं, पर उसका समाधान करना तुम्हारा काम है." That I can give you the answer, but to make it something your own, you will have to put that effort in inquiry and find it. So similarly, who is our teacher? Our own sense of inquiry, inquisitive inquiry is our teacher. Relentless inquiry until I find that truth. Whatever, however long it takes. Jignasa. The day we give up on jignasa, the teacher in us is dead. A constant inquiry has to be there. That is what ushers us to learn constantly. Inquirer. And the humility to come back into the class environment. And the best thing is, amidst those children, it is not that we become disciplinarians. They don't need another set of mom and pop in a classroom environment. They need somebody who can spar with them at their level. The ability to get down to their level. And in this country, I had to learn quite a bit. And it was quite challenging. Because the Indian way of teaching is different, and here the children teach you how to teach them. As the first episode of my camp that I said in Chicago was very unnerving. Because these kids would not sit straight. Kids क्या यहाँ तो parents भी straight नहीं बैठते हैं. No, it doesn't mean that you have to sit straight now. I'm just mentioning it. They never sit straight. And the funny thing, they would lie down in the class. And they would be rolling here, rolling there. I was trying to teach Ram here, Ram there, and they were like rolling here, rolling there. And then they would never look at you when they are speaking. Oh, they're talking to me, okay. And they make that, when they are in their elementary school, they have a nasal, with the accent, which is also difficult. So I tell them shamelessly, look, I am an FOB. I just arrived from India. I do not understand what you are speaking. Can you speak in English? This is English. No, can you speak in a slower English, that which I can understand? It is not your inability, it is my inability. And then when they come into their middle school, that is called cool. Yes, क्या? I do imitate them on their face and say, hey, this is how I hear what you speak. Can you speak in my language, my English? And many kids have developed that. When they are with me, they speak with a typical Indian accent. Swamiji, when you were in the airport, immediately when they see their friends, what did you say? I had no clue what they are communicating. So their language is a barrier, their behavior is a barrier. But then I soon understood. In that environment, to make the best use, my job is not to become a disciplinarian, my job is to become a friend in that environment. Sleep, roll, whatever you do, as long as you're not being a nuisance to the next fellow around. The moment you become a nuisance to the next fellow, the moment you are, cross-talking or things like that, all the features that have been provided in this class one by one will be taken away. Not just for that one kid, but for the entire class. Roll. Jitni man mein maye, roll. As long as you are not a nuisance to the next one around. The moment you become a nuisance, everybody sits straight. But he did it. But you are encouraging it. Therefore, everybody sits straight. Everybody will look at that fellow. I said, don't just look at that fellow. You don't commit again. If you do, now when they see the sequence, they say, okay, this fellow is cool. As long as we follow this particular, we can do. In spite of all this rolling and we think that they are not paying attention, they pay absolute attention. So if we have the heart to roll along with them, befriend them. Whatever age they are, befriend them at that age. But the psychology of a human mind is when we are with younger people, we behave like the older ones. And when we are with our own peers, we want to create some distinction. Distinction alienates us. Become a part of them. Don't sit on an altar. Don't sit on a pedestal. Get down off that pedestal. Put that away. And get to their level. And I cannot insist enough, this is one thing that I have repeated in every teacher's training. Spend the entire first week trying to know who you are dealing with, who your audience is, who your class is. You have to spend next 35, 36 weeks with them. And it cannot be someone who is alien to you. It should not be some A Hari Om, B Hari Om. When you don't know their names, we don't know who that individual is. In Chinmaya Mission, invariably we start addressing each other with a replacement. The guy who invented X-rays, if he had known Hari Om, he would have said Hari Om rays. Because he did not know what to name it, therefore he said X. Similarly, in our classrooms, some XYZ sitting, we don't know who it is. Hey, Hari Om. You Hari Om. And the moment we do that, the kid may not be able to articulate what they feel, but we have lost a student in the classroom. if it takes n number of times for us to remember, shamelessly accept it. Beta, I have forgotten your name, please tell me your name. Nothing wrong. But learn who they are. Spend enough time to know them. That is the warmth that we can create. And knowing them not just by names. Achyutaya Namaha, Anantaya Namaha, Madhavaya Namaha, Keshvaya Namaha. No, not just names. What is their personality? Maybe you can conduct a small game or something wherein you know their habits, you know their hobbies, you know their likes and dislikes. In fact, many of the classroom environments that I go, the first 5 minutes, I don't even speak about Vedanta. I talk about the lousy presentation or lousy game that Mavs played with and lost the playoffs. I don't need an extra ice-breaking session. I speak that which they are thinking. If that classroom environment is not into basketball, I'll try to find what they are into. If they are into baseball, if they are into any other sport, one of the most peculiar sports out there, which I feel peculiar, is that little pole with a net that they keep running around. It never crosses my mind. If that is what is their interest, that is what I have to know. What kind of movies they watch, what kind of TV shows they watch, if at all the parents obsessively don't stop them watching. What kind of shows they watch, what kind of music, what kind of books they read. Knowing that the entire generation was into Harry Potter, I slogged through those fat books, going through every page of it. So that when I communicate with them, I can relate to what they are thinking. I've read the Ring, what is that? Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings series. Then after that, the Hobbit. Yeah, those series. To know what those kids, that's why in my library when I read, I have books on economy, I have books on the new kind of inventions or new kind of technology that is coming in, the new kind of software, the new kind of, I keep varied kind of groups that I speak to. And I have to understand where they are coming from. Without knowing what they like and dislike, what their interests are, trying to teach is almost an impossible task. See, here it is not like a college or a school environment, and I teach whether you want to listen or not. It is not my concern. To heck with your understanding. I finish my syllabus, I finish my lesson plan, I'm done. That is not the purpose here. Right? So know your students, know your environment. This is one essential thing. And while you're putting that effort, try to get their emails, try to get their phone numbers. If need be, create your own classroom's Facebook page. Get their parents' phone numbers, get their parents' emails. Sometimes knowing their life makes us sensible to the classroom environment. Like every time in one particular classroom environment, it was again a 4th, 5th grade, I would speak about the parents and what they do. This one girl would suddenly withdraw from all participation and become gloomy. Then at a lunchtime, I took her. I immediately observed by the second thing. I took her during the lunchtime aside, and on my table, I started speaking to her. And then she opened up. She said that her father passed away recently. Now, knowing that gives me enough information as to how do I handle that classroom environment. Should I be sensitive or not to that classroom environment? Like when somebody goes to India, I'm very happy for them. And my heart is still there. And unintentionally, this person, 1 month I did not see, comes back, and I see him. I'm very happy. I said, "Where were you?" He said, "Oh, I was in India." "Oh, did you enjoy?" And that's my natural instinct. Very gloomily he said, "I lost my mother." I didn't. I tell you, that day I felt so bad. I kicked myself. Now, when somebody talks about India trip, the first thing that hits my head is to be sensible and ask, is everything okay? Is everybody okay? Experiences teach. And what is the pointer there? Know before you can communicate. Not just physical allergies, nuts allergy, banana allergy. I don't know what allergies they have. You can go bananas and nuts. Not just the physical one, even the internal. Understand their mind. How many siblings they have, what kind of environment, where does the father work, where does the mother work, where do they come in from, what language do they speak. See, I have a flaw that I cannot remember names of people. So the next best thing that I observed, that I'm very good in remembering what language they speak. And since I'm blessed with so much of travel in India that I can speak more than few languages, so the moment I see them, I speak to them in their own language. Like in the entire Oriya, I know only one sentence. But when I see them, I say, "Bhalo chanti ki." Something that can personally relate to that person at that level. Like when I'm in camps, I have to, it's a different structure other than Balavihar's curriculum structure. I have to convey the entire message in 5 days in say 10 different classes. And the classroom environment is like 30, 40. So my memory is like Nemo, not Nemo, what is the other? Dory. So I have that quick short-term memory. So I run through the game of everybody saying their name and the earlier one's name. So by the time it is 40, they have to repeat 39 names. And my task is to repeat all 40 names. And to make it interesting, I'll say that if your name starts with whatever alphabet, make an adjective that describes you with that alphabet. So I said, my name is Swami, the swag Swami. Somebody taught me this, the children teach. So they remember with their adjective as well as their name. So by the time you are done, they say, okay, this fellow has remembered our names. The first ice breaking is done. Remembers where I come from, what my likes and dislikes are. Not just in the classroom environment, even in the off classroom environments when you see. It's not like, did you learn this shloka? Instead, talk about what they like and what they are interested in. Once you have connected the bridge, once a rapport is connected, whatever you want to deliver seamlessly gets transported to the other side without resistance. Without that connection, try shoving it. It is in such environments the kid would say, I don't want to go to this class. It is in such environments that the kids are, because they're feeling tortured. It is no more an educational platform. That you find that many of them have lost interest. They're cross-talking to each other. See, when do you realize that your class is boring to the audience? See, when I'm sitting here, I get a Vishwarupa Darshan. I get to see everybody in their eyes, look into their eyes. When everybody is like, isn't it a sign? Bhaiya, what you are trying to deliver is being missed. In the kids, it expresses in a different way. They become hyperactive, they lose interest, they don't want to follow what you are saying. That's a good benchmark. That what I am communicating, there is no connection in the first place. At that point, what do? Give a break. Like whenever I find that the majority of the gathering is going into the trance, so what do I have to do? Weave in. It should not be like, even then, if it is like Guruji is so simple. He will not narrate a joke or a story for you. And then it wows you at the end saying that, oh, this really got me. No, that is Gurudev style. Guruji, he say, now let me tell you a joke. Find methods to find that relief in between so that that connectivity is still maintained. And you are the best judge at that moment rather than getting frustrated. Why do these kids not? The moment they see that you lost it, you have given a great ammunition in their hands. They will start poking right there. This irritates you? Good, thank you. And there are 25 of them, they share the burden. Every so often, one kid pokes, and the rest of them, good job. Enjoyed it. And the whole class, all that you will be doing, children silent, children sit straight, children do it. See, we had a camp in Houston long time ago. And the first thing that I started speaking was, started speaking something irrelevant. They thought it was irrelevant. And then it turned out to be a humorous incident that I was narrating. And that was my first introduction. And they started laughing. This was 9th, 10th grade. On the, in hotels, there are just flimsy separators. So on that side, there were 7th, 8th, and this side, there were 11th, 12th. And those kids, it seems, told these kids that, what were you doing in the class? The whole class, you were laughing and laughing and laughing. So these kids came back and informed me that So every so often when I find that the bridge is connector is losing, I'd say, laugh. They say, why? So that we can tease the rest of them around, make them jealous. And that was something that connected to them. Something that I was playing a prank along with them, they had included me in that prank, and they would all laugh. Now, when you have to laugh genuinely, it is one level. When you have to tease someone and laugh, it is of a totally different level. And the teachers came and said, "What are you doing in this class?" So my straight, simple logic was, if all the Vedanta is to lead people to be happy, and me by telling them be laughing, happy, and they're happy with it, I think I have done my justice to Vedanta. Whatever connects to them, find that nerve and constantly keep connecting to them. The moment you see that it is fading away, what do? Stop. Don't communicate any further. Message is not being received. Reconnect to them. See, today what we are having right now, it is an optical fiber connection. Wirelessly, the connection is in the classroom, it is like the dial-up. Key, kich, 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 key, kich, 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 kich. Every so often it is missed. So what do? Reconnect. Right? Now here, that warmth that you show in that class by reconnecting again and again, and not being a Hitleritarian kind of or a dictatorial kind of a person. Now imagine such a person, even when they become stern, it has an impact on the kids. Occasionally, rarely, when you become stern, it has an impact. You start with sternness, you're already written off. Another auntie. Okay. I agree, but I have to be politically right. Uncles. Haji? Because they knew that I was just trying to be PC. Now, when you look back into your own school days, college days, there's another example that I often give. Do you not remember the most favorite teacher of yours? Right? You very distinctly remember your favorite teacher? And how many of our lives are molded by that favorite teacher in such a way that we have started liking their subject, not because for the love of the subject, but because the love for the teacher. If I may extrapolate it, that impact, in fact, even molded us in picking our careers, picking the subjects that we learn, and our careers are molded by that first impact with the teacher. Isn't it? How many of you think that your life, career, and what choices you have made was impacted by that one teacher? Quite a few. That is now in your hands. No, I don't want them to become a sannyasi. That is not the intent. Who is asking it? Meet me later. Why would I create an environment wherein my own business, no, jokes apart, if that be the end result, so be the blessed child. The purpose here is to be that teacher who impresses that when they come on Sunday or a Saturday, when they come, they look forward for that class. Have you seen the children as they go into the school? Have you seen the children as they come out of the school? No child is dragging his feet. They're like, I want to be the first one out of there. Is it not? So when we here are trying to create an environment, it shouldn't be an environment wherein the children are dragging their feet in, but are eagerly looking forward for that moment. Now add to that their chemical imbalance called teenage. A hormonal imbalance wherein everything that you say, you are wrong as a parent. You don't understand them. You have never gone through childhood. And you can seldom understand what they are going through at that age. That is the chemical imbalance impact. Therefore, you love this environment, and now they will try to portray it as one more environment that you are trying to thrust on that mindset. And the more dearly you like something, the more vehemently they will rub it against you. Take all those into consideration. In spite of that, to create an environment wherein the child is eager to get in, not get out. And who holds that key? You hold that key in your hand. Now, while communicating, as you are communicating, use the language which the children understand. Sometimes when the kid comes onto the stage to read what we have learnt in the class, the language is so difficult. And many people say, oh, the Bal Bhagavatam, Bal Ramayanam, the language is very difficult for the kids. Baba, that book is not meant for the kids. It is meant for the teacher to read and narrate the story to the kid. It is not to read the book. It is not a sleeping session that you read the story to that child so that the child sleeps. It is not a sleeping session. Samuhika, Dirgha Nidra, Kaksha. Collective sleep session, no, sleep therapy. No, that is not what we are trying to create. We are trying to bring that mindset to understand it through our narration. This was when we were still in Coppell Flowermont, that Rockbrook Montessori. And this kid was given the script by the teacher, and it was really a hard language for a second grader. But it was a smart kid. He came, Hari Om, my name is so and so from this grade, this session. And he attempted 2-3 sentences, and every sentence had more than few words which were complicated. And he said, you could see the expression. I was sitting right next to him, right? And then he put the paper away. He said, blah, 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 blah. And he continued there for 2 minutes. The teacher was red. I could easily identify who the parents were. They were the most uncomfortable ones seated there with their cameras. I would say that that kid really managed the situation well. It was not the kid's fault. And then at the end, the last word I do understand, Hari Om. Do you remember, right? Do you know who that kid is now? Well, and the teachers and the parents, you should tell that kid. I said, hey, back off. That was not his fault. It was our fault to have been given that kind of language which the child cannot understand or speak. See, when I deal with you all as a congregation and I speak, अरे सुनो ना पूरी बात. Do I ever, I don't even mention the concept of God. Do I ever mention the complicated words of Vedanta? Have you ever seen me speak about Ghatakasha, Matakasha, Patakasha, Chittakasha, Vyomakasha? Avritti dosha, Vikshepa dosha, Nivritti dosha. Do you hear me speak those words? Very rarely use them. But what is of more importance is the language that you understand and bring that same knowledge in a language that you can appreciate. Many times when 7, 8 of us Swamis are in one room and there are others, oh Swamiji, we will also want to listen to the discussion. Don't. Because the language that we speak, it starts from a totally different standpoint. And you will not be able to associate with it. And the reference point is different. Do I ever speak when I deal with all of you? I seldom bring that language. So I have to understand what language you understand and speak and communicate accordingly. In that, accommodate for my own inadequacies. I may not be able to pronounce certain words a certain way. It is a lot of difficulty. I have changed from the schedule to a schedule. A lot of difficulty and awareful expression. Even in spite of that, there are certain words which I cannot change. I know how many times the Yuva Kendra, especially, they correct. In spite of my language, when that sincerity to teach is seen, the warmth is seen, they're ready to pardon even that inadequacies. They may mock at you. Instead of becoming defensive, how dare you? Swamiji, it is not airport, it is airport. There are other words. I'm blanking out on those words. Can you tell some words, please? What's that? Oh, route and route. No, these are not. There are some my specific ones. I'm looking at the Yuva Kendra ones. I can't pronounce the second one. With lot of difficulty, I learnt instead of telling yellow, I, I, I've learned to say it as yellow. And they would tease me saying, Swamiji, you're not wearing yellow, you're wearing yellow. I learned it with a lot of difficulty. But in spite of that inadequacies that I come with my thick accents and other things, when I have connected to them and the warmth is provided, and that warmth and the connection is seen, they ignore all these things. They're quite benevolent in that, provided you come across with that connection. Now, this Sanatana Dharma has been taught by the great stalwarts like, who was the Guru of Lord Krishna? Guru Sandipani. Who was the Guru of Bhagavan Ramchandra ji? Vasishtha or Vishwamitra also. Vishwamitra, Gautama, Vasishtha, Sandipani, all these great gurus have taught this Sanatana Dharma to none less than Bhagavan themselves. And such a responsibility to give this Sanatana Dharma to next generation is on our shoulders. So where are we immediately transported to? What level have we been transported to? We have become the part of Sanatana Dharma Guru Sishya Parampara. When we chant Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmad Acharya Paryantam. Who is the Acharya here? All of you. You are the Acharya in that classroom. Who is an Acharya? Yaha Acharati Paran api Acharishyati Saha Acharya. Yaha Acharati Yadyadacharati Sreshtaha. The one who follows it, being the role model, and inspires the others around to follow it through. Such one is an Acharya. Now, once we have connected and that established relation is there, then how we communicate? It is not the language, as I was mentioning. It is the intensity with which you come across. You may still call Chicago as Chicago. You may still say sugar as sugar. You may still call an airport as an airport. They don't care, they don't bother about it. As long as the intensity and the purity in that intensity is clean. How do they consider us cool so that they can associate with us? If you are one with them. And you can communicate with their language. So as a communication, the first thing is understand their language. The second is what you are communicating. The language doesn't matter, but the intensity and the purity of intensity matters. Third, it reflects the sincerity of preparation. In whatever environment that you go, when you sit there, however be erudite the scholar speaking, when the speech starts becoming nonsensical, do you not recognize it? When it is some gibberish being spoken to, do you not catch it? You may not be erudite, but when it does not make sense, can you not see the non preparedness of the teacher who has come to communicate? When you are in college or your school, when a teacher who comes non prepared, unprepared to the class, what would happen to that teacher that day? I'm talking of the Indian standard. What would happen to that teacher? Shredded down to pieces. And I would admit I have done that. We used to have a physics teacher. He had a strong foundation in his masters. He had done it in 7 years. And we would have pardoned his English because that was hilarious. Open the doors of the windows. What was that? Oh, you? Who's to say that? Open the doors of the windows. So that the atmosphere can come in. If anybody had a question, not in the center of the class, come behind the class. Meaning, don't distract us in the middle of the class, come after the class. That's what he intended to say. The best I still remember, he picked a piece of chalk, threw it in air, and I said, "What is that?" What, you're playing a Rajnikant stunt or something? How would I know, man? We all guessed for next 10-15 minutes. Says, that is three-dimensional. He is introducing a serious topic and we had no clue what he was indicating to. In the three-dimensional analysis, the x, y, and z axis, he just threw a chalk and said, "What is it?" And the best one was in the lab. You know, we had to identify the density of, and it was one chemical, and we had to pour it and dilute it. He said, "Don't pour, pour, pour. Pour, pour, pour." What he meant was, don't pour fast, pour slowly. Don't pour, 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 pour. Pour, pour, pour. We would have been okay with that too. But his unpreparedness in the class, that he could wing it by, was obviously seen. Because he would come, every book had questions, the syllabus had questions, and these questions had answer books published by a different publication. We would call it the guide. Remember India? Here they call it what? Key? Cliff's Note, cheat sheet. No, not cheat sheet. Answer key. So things like that. So he would, even in there, they would answer 2, 3, and the third one they would answer like half of it and leave the rest of it for us. So we would pick only those. If he had access to it, we also had access to it. So we would pick those questions. And sometimes it was hilarious. He would start with the question, go through the entire board to come back to the question. Somewhere in between, he would miss the steps and go back to the question. And he would dread coming into our class. As long as he could avoid, he said, somebody else wants to take the class. He said, oh, please take. Because of the unpreparedness. The moment children see that we have gone to the classroom unprepared, they will rip us apart. Blessed you are if you are in elementary school. From middle school up, if you go unprepared, like there is a fresh graduate who is joining us as teacher here. There are quite a few, one here sitting. Would you not do that in your school? That if there is somebody who comes unprepared, louder. Yes. It's the same psychology that applies. And for the little children, they cannot articulate it. They have identified it. That is what they get disinterested. So prepare well. In our busy day and schedule, to find time to prepare a whole chunk of it is difficult. I understand. Your day starts at morning 5:36, ends at 7:38. I mean, most of the chores, and then you have to wind up the whole day, clean up, and then prepare for the next day, and do your submissions and other things. One particular addition which probably might help you resolve that would be is if each day before you go to sleep, keep that book at your bedside. Not that it will automatically get into your head. Just before you go to sleep, take 15 minutes to read the chapter that you are supposed to finish in the syllabus. And have a note card or whatever you call them. Flashcards. Have a flashcard. When you read each paragraph, there will be one subtle idea that clicks your mind. Write that one pointer. Every day you spend about 15 minutes. 6 days of the week. How much have you spent? 1.5 hours you have prepared effortlessly. That day when you have to go for the classroom, put this flashcard and go through the sequence of the syllabus. Go through the sequence of syllabus in your head. It takes about half hour. That which you are not clear, refer back to the book. Put the book and the flashcard aside. When you go into the classroom, if you may, take that flashcard as a reference. And you have 7 days prepared, syllabus delivered. And in each age group, the preparation requires different kinds of presentation. Have you heard of a great scientist called Vishveshwaraya? Mokshagundam Vishveshwaraya. Engineer, par excellence. So when he was in his college and he had to present something and he was the chosen one to present, he went with a book and he put it on the podium and he started speaking. The professor liked his talk so much that he said, "Can I take your notes?" And he would refuse to give that notes. And then the professor snatched it from him only to find blank papers. You were like showing off, you had opened it and you had everything spread out and then you were doing this. I did it only once in the beginning. After that, I did not. So I said, where was this all this? I said, I had these pointers and I had memorized those pointers and I spoke according to the sequence of those pointers. So if you can do that, and preferably instead of a note card or a flash card, if you have today, you have these smartphones, pads. If you can take a notepad or something and then on that uh, jot down. What I use is Google Keep for notes and reminders. That is one thing that I very regularly use. So whenever I have a new thought that comes in, I immediately take down and write my notes in there. And the reason I'm saying Google Keep is because it gives me different platforms. I can still open it and it is readily available there. Whether it is a cell phone, pad or a laptop, it is available, immediate reference. And the reason I say use this technology so that at the end of the week, when I'm sure this particular thing has been sent to all of you by Mayaji, the notes has to be presented onto the web. When you update what you have learnt in the class, it does not take more than few minutes, couple of minutes to copy this and paste it there. You're giving the crux of the entire syllabus there, and your pointers and what you have learnt. Now, how you present it in each age group, it's a different presentation. Pay attention here. When we go to a younger age group, elementary school, what catches their attention is the narration. When you read a book and see a movie which is done on the book, how many of you like the book? Most of the time it is the book that you like and not the movie. Do you know why? It is not that the director has done a lousy job. It is his angle of presentation. But whereas when I read a book, I have my own perspective, imagination with which I have sketched out all these characters. See, when there is a bad character, and depending on how much bad I can handle, I imagine a little docile bad character. The author describes, and I visualize. And if in the movie it is shown in a terrible form, I said they did too much on the wicked character. Because your imagination was not that wicked to go along with the author. And sometimes the portrayal of the main characters, the hero of the novel, you have imagined, visualized in most spectacular, and what comes out, like I'll tell you my disappointment with what was that? Da Vinci Code. Yeah, thank you for correcting this pronunciation. Rubbing it in again and again. So when I had imagined the main character there, I had imagined somebody, like a James Bond character, like somebody muscular and because he's good in swimming and other things. And I go to the movie, it is Tom Hanks. To my imagination, Tom Hanks was not a match. Right? So when we are sitting with the kids, elementary especially, the mode of communication is narration. How you narrate to them. It should be so vivid. Your vocabulary, your explanation, your communication should be so vivid that you are painting the entire story in their head, enabling them visualize it in their head. If your description narrative is really grasping, no hanky panky stuff happens in the class. They are like, flies like Hanumanji go in and out. Still doesn't bother them. Why? Now you have triggered, you have kindled the imagination in their head. And that narrative keeps that imagination glowing. That they are occupied in their imagination. It is not just kids. If there is a good narrator, good storyteller, even adults are like that. I'll tell you a body language secret. When I see many in the audience this way, you know what it means? It is a moment wherein I should say, Shabhash Sarvesh, you're doing a good job. Meaning they're engrossed in that. Again, there is a little hairline difference. I'll tell you that difference as well. If somebody is like this and their eyes are open but blank, that kind of look, that means that individual is physically present, mentally taken off. Right? And the body speaks quite a bit. Now, as I see what the collective thing is telling me, Swamiji, can you give us a break? That is what is the body language speaking right now. Am I right? In next 2 minutes. You have to read to identify, right? What each body motion means. Now, if you will see it by the end of this day, if they're sitting like this, what does this mean? Bhaiya, khatam bhi kar yaar. Enough of your chabar, 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 chabar. Band bhi karo. Close it down. We are tired. We are mentally fatigued. Body language speaks. When they are completely engrossed, they have accepted, they have now started visualizing, imagining in their heads. Narration is the best mode in elementary school. When you come to the middle school, creating PowerPoints, encouraging them to create PowerPoints, and bring that as a display and ask them to explain, take the lead, PowerPoints work. When you come to the high school, you have to go there with the readiness to butt heads, loggerheads, and debate with them. And the deeper is your understanding, the better you can debate with them. I usually like, my personal choice is to play the devil's advocate. I love at that time. Instead of me defending what I have to explain, it is fun to watch. They take up the task to defend it, and they do a very good job at it. But the point is to usher them towards that direction. If, like, I'm trying to explain Ramayan's story and I'm playing a devil's advocate and I'm portraying Ravana, and if the class says, yes, Ravana was awesome, and they leave, then you have not done a good job at playing a devil's advocate. That has to usher them to now support and stand for Rama. Debate in a healthy environment. So we'll talk about the PowerPoint and the debate after the break. We meet here by 11:30. You have 10 minutes bio break. Input output break. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Hari Om. I remember photographically who was sitting where. So come back to your positions.
books that teachers are supposed to get or something.
We will announce.
So,
I have the sheets coming. So we need to announce in there that they can check out the class books and the reference books. Even if they have it, we need to renew them so we know they have it. So I can go and check mark and see which particular person has it. And the reference books are for SMEs. You know, at least one per session. So if they want to share, we have one per session.
and also about the on the quest.
Yeah, that I'm announcing.
ఇంటి టికెట్స్ లేవు.
ప్రియా దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి. ప్రియా దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి, నా దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి.
Oh, okay.
I have 500 tickets. నిలబడండి, నిలబడండి ఈవిడ అని చెప్తాను. ఐ లాస్ట్ దెమ్ టు కమ్ టు ఓ ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Do you know who she was? So when the boss comes to give instructions, I have to stop. She is our secretary here, Sandhya Gava. Okay. First things first. A Nissan keychain has been found. Did anybody lose it? गारंटी क्या है ये आपका है? Insurance and license, please. Where is Swati? I'm checking for all the spaces. There are 4 missing here. Okay, she has come. 3 missing there. There are 2 missing there. You were saying something? Change the spot. Okay. Okay. Those of you who are outside and still making lot of sound, please stop it and come inside. Kindergarten through 4th, 5th grade, we find them like sponge, ready to absorb anything that is unfolded in front of them. Anything. They'll just absorb. But from 5th, 6th onwards, they think they have become intelligent. They have two solid questions for everything that you say or don't. They have these two questions that you ask them to do something, they'll say why. And you ask them not to do something, they'll say why not. So with these two questions, they assume intelligence. So do not challenge their intelligence. It's a futile effort. Because many would jump in and question, why do you question so much? Do not challenge their intelligence. Let them act smart. When they ask these questions, it is our responsibility to teach them how to ask the right questions. Not stop them asking questions. Somebody said very beautifully a long time ago that in Balavihar, it is our job to not teach them what to think, but how to think. So when they ask these questions, don't stop them from asking questions, but rather teach them to ponder upon as to how to ask these questions. What kind of questions should they be pondering into? That inquisitiveness has to be kindled in their hearts. They're still very young. There is still a lot of innocence that beams forth their eyes. They are not yet that corrupt by the system. Seriously, they are not. There is still that spark of innocence that beams forth. And you can see the difference. Why I say that the kindergarten through 5th grade, they soak everything. When they start singing, presenting a class presentation, their pronunciations are so perfect. It is Dasharatha Nandana Rama Jai Jai. It is not Dasharatha Nandana Ram Jai Jai. By the time they come to 6th grade, you start seeing that change. You start seeing the same things being pronounced differently. Why? That we teach. Even their names, the way they pronounce, changes. Until then, they will say, my name is Pranav. After 6th grade, they start saying, my name is Pranav. How do they pronounce it? Pranav, Pranav, Pranav. And then I just joke with them and say, what? Say that again? And then, Pranav. As if they're to satisfy me. So you start seeing that there is that individuality that is morphing, that is changing. Soaking days have gone. Now it is scorching business starts. Everything and anything they will scrutinize. How to scrutinize is what we have to teach them. That is why right in 5th grade, the syllabus that we have is to inculcate that. The syllabus is, how many of you are teaching 5th grade? What is your syllabus? Vibhishana Gita and values. So we start teaching them, both are value-based texts. The second part is from 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The first part is from Tulsi Ramayana. And both of them are talking about the Dharmacharya That is how they say, we are learning about Dharmacharya. So we start teaching them how to look into life, how to question it. Because if we teach them that, we have given them an amazing skill set. Wherever they are, they go with the attitude, the perspective to inquire, and we have created an inquirer, and that's a huge gain. We keep asking all stupid questions, but to ask the right question and to pursue it. And with the technology that is growing, one thing that captures their mind is if we put it across in PowerPoints and encourage them to create and speak on. Let them come up. Don't try to abruptly stop them, brush them aside. Even if they are on a wrong path, a wrong track, or a wrong pointer that they are concluding, let them complete and conclude their thought. The first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, if you observe, Arjuna was leading all wrong conclusions, but Bhagavan was a good listener. If you see the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan does not obstruct him from saying or speaking his mind out. He allows him to come across. He allows him to say it as is. Once he speaks, then he starts molding him to the right direction. So as a listener, don't listen to it from the perspective of trying to smack them down or trying to answer them, just purely from the standpoint of listening and enjoying the thought flow as to how well this kid is able to think. Then once you know where they are, to take them where they have to be becomes easier. And the PowerPoints when you make, what are the two words in there? Power and point. So it is not essays. And this is one thing that I've observed when Indians present. That they have, for each point, they have a Mahabharat there. There is a point why it is called power point. You have to present the entire thought in a powerful pointer. And then encourage them to come out with their thoughts. Here they may not be equipped with a lot of debate points. They may not be able to debate. Their understanding has to be encouraged to be spoken. And then you can lead them towards the right direction. And I'm sure you know how to make a PowerPoint, right? Yes? No? Yes. Okay. Everybody, and I'm looking, they are also like, कुछ तो answer दो. Angle नहीं समझा मैं. No. That is a totally different. First thing is, do you know how to make a PowerPoint? The content was not the issue. The technology was the issue. Do you know how to use the technology? And that will come next. Once you know how to make a PowerPoint, it will be good to have a dark background with a lighter shade on the top as the words. Sometimes we become very designer friendly. No, these are not going to be printed on Versace or Gucci. We don't need to be designer there. A simple black background, dark background with illumined words. Otherwise, it becomes very distracting. I seldom use PowerPoints because even with the lights on, with me speaking loudly, people sleep. With the lights off, I don't know what is happening. Therefore, I don't tend to use that PowerPoint. I use other techniques. But for a generic purpose, I think PowerPoint is a very powerful tool, and we should be able to employ that to bring forth the ideas and their opening up. When you bring these PowerPoints, the content has to be pointers only. And on those pointers, you elaborate on. Do not make a slide which is more than 4 to 5 slides. Whatever the class has to, I would say the best PowerPoint is not more than 2 slides. In the classrooms, there are supposed to be monitors that you can connect with. That I'll come as the infrastructural maintenance. Because many times what happens that you borrow it from different classrooms. Every classroom is supposed to have a boombox with a CD player, a TV monitor which can play CDs, and play PowerPoint with the plugin. This is not Chitrakoot, this is Saket. I'm coming to that point. So we take it from, borrow it from, and leave it as is, and do not even bother to keep it back. So it is not that the infrastructure is not provided. It is not well used or misused, and sometimes even abused. Because you take the boombox, plug it in, take the boombox, leave the plugged wire there. And somebody else comes, sees the plugged in wire and not use it, and they trash it. There are so many boom boxes without a plug-in wire now, which is of no use right now. So the TV monitors are there. And if the TV monitors are not there, I'm sure you have a laptop. I should actually say you have multiple tops, multiple laptops, multiple display systems, which I'm sure you carry it in your bags and baggages. You can as well bring your laptop and use that as a display. I would rather prefer that you bring your own laptop and display. That way, you are more responsible. No, I'm not trying to insinuate any kind of mindset here. I'm just talking of the responsible part. You're more careful about it. Than when it is abundantly available, there is more of misuse and abuse. Tried it. It did not work. So therefore, the next best solution would be, because when I am trying to provide an infrastructure, it is not with my own money elaborately, it is with the people's money that every penny counts. And if it is misused or abused, I feel really hurt. Instead, if you can bring your own, you'll be very, very careful. I don't need to include this as one of the things that the teachers do. It will be taken care of. Would it be too much to ask to bring your laptop for a display so that you can display the PowerPoint? Yes or no? No. True. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you don't change my question paper. No, no, no. My question paper was simple. Is it easy for you? Is it okay with you to bring your equipment to use? That was the question. The other logistics you have to manage. Whichever you have highlighted, that you have to anyway manage with different group and different textural basis. True. Pico projector, a handy dandy one that you can bring and project as well. It's not more than $99. Thanksgiving, it will be under $50. It was a factual statement. I got mine in a Thanksgiving Black Friday sale. Can I borrow it? Mullah Nasruddin goes to his neighbor and he says, "Can I borrow your fan?" The neighbor knows the mullah very well, that he takes but doesn't give. So just to avoid that, he says, "No mullah, today I am resting. I am going to stay at home. I would need my fan." "Then can I borrow your donkey? I have to go to the others." So you got my answer. There are two things that I don't lend. One is my books and the second is my gadgets. Because they are yadgatva nanivartante. They have a tendency to go but never to return. So the PowerPoint is a very good tool to keep the minds occupied. And it is not just that you show a PowerPoint and leave it at it, it is your discussion that you bring forth as to how you elaborate things to inspire those minds as to how to think. But when you come to the high school, even sometimes earlier than high school, even in 8th grade, PowerPoints may not work. Then you may have to supplement it with high level discussions. Discussions wherein they have to be thought provoking discussions, wherein you have good debating environment. Now, when you have a debating environment, you should have a good control over the subject, that thereby you give them leading questions. So as you prepare for that particular syllabus, it is not just the pointers on your flashcards, but you have to have the right leading questions. One good example is if you have the book Self-Unfoldment, each chapter has some questions given. If you look at the questions, there are good discussion points so that the entire chapter gets covered through those leading questions. So it is a little more effort to be put there, wherein it is not just your preparation, but to think through your mindset of classroom that you come across and then present it in such a way that there is a healthy debate that happens. And there is no topic that can be shoved under the rug. Be comfortable in the topics that you discuss with. Now there are topics like when you're talking in Hinduism and introduction, and in that particular topic you have a caste system. Now this is often a high voltage discussion point. Do your research well, know about the system well, and learn intensely about it. Like for example, how many of you know what are the forecasts? Forecasts. Ayyo. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. I was going to have a cardiac arrest. You're trying to play a fast one on me. The untouchables are Shudras. How many of you agree with the statement?
We can say that we perform tasks that are untouchable, like cleaning and other things that we do in our house, so we play that role.
No, that is not the question. As a practice in India, untouchability we see, and there is a common understanding or misunderstanding that Shudras are the untouchable. The Shudras are not the untouchable. That is where you have to do a lot of research. Now, Shudras are the skilled laborers, the masons, carpenters, blacksmiths, various such skilled laborers are the Shudras, and they are not untouchables. They come in and out of our house every single day. They are allowed into the temples. They are not the ones who are untouchables. Has a carpenter not stepped into your house and mended your doors and windows? The dhobi is a skilled laborer, Shudra. And don't we allow them to come in and take our clothes, wash them, dry them, iron them, bring them back? They are not the untouchables. Now, where did untouchability come from? I'm just taking one particular theme. Untouchability is that aspect of our society wherein they are belonging to any of the four varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. When they do some of these crimes, which are called Mahapataka, the great sins, then the punishment given to them is either a capital punishment or to banish them from the kingdom or the town. And when they are banished, they are branded and banished. So that in the rest of the life, they do their tapas and do prayaschitta. They can be any one of the earlier four. Such banished ones are not allowed into the community. They are the ones who are called the untouchables, and the Shudras are not the untouchables. This is one clarity that one has to gain. The second clarity is a comparison with a present day. I would say that a good comparison would be that there are criminals. Okay? They have done their time in the jail. They were incarcerated and they spent their time 14, 15, 20 years, whatever it is. And they have now to resettle into the society. When you know that there is a registered pedophile trying to buy a house in your neighborhood, what is your reaction to it? Louder, please. You don't like it, you don't want them there. Unacceptable. Would you want your children to play along with their children or something? So does it not become an untouchable thing? That person is avoided by the society? Now I take it to a next level. Would you want to associate your children? I'm not talking from the ideal standpoint. As a parent, give me an answer. Ideally, I can speak a lot of things. Okay. Come to ground zero, grounded in reality, give me the answer. Okay. Would you be okay in your family getting associated with that family in a marriage? untouchability is still seen. I know it is a tough question. That is why I gave you the prerequisites. Answer as a parent. Naturally. You cannot change my criteria. I have given the criteria very clearly. Knowing very well that the crowd that I am dealing will be smart enough to bring in these criteria. Inhibitions are there. You would like to avoid it as much as possible, as far away as possible. Right? Now, isn't that untouchability? Now, similarly, these criminals were not allowed into the society. Now, if their children were to be allowed and they were not allowed either, so the next best thing were the menial jobs as a compassionate thing given to them. Now the flaw that has happened is they remain, their families after that remain in that level and not given the opportunity to grow out is the flaw. But here I have clarified that the Shudras are not the untouchable, which is what many Indians think. Now there was a famous Broadway show by the Indian musician called the Bombay Dreams. Have you heard of it? Okay. It was by A.R. Rahman. And in that, the premise of that story was, it was good to see all Americans trying to sing all these Bollywood numbers and on stage live. It was good. But the premise of the story is there is this fellow who wants to become a hero and is not allowed to become an actor because he was a Shudra and untouchable. And that is how it is promoted, which is not a well-researched premise. Shudras are not the untouchable. It has been, even in the Indian textbooks, that is how it has been portrayed, that the Shudras are the untouchables. And we need to do good enough research to bring in that debate and answer. And also look at both sides of it and be able to understand where the flaws are and what the solutions are. And your discussion should bring forth all these things. Many a Indian, many a Hindu, not having this clarity, quite often questioned about these things, finally finds a greater solution. And such people have these cliches. I am not religious, but I am spiritual. What the heck does it even mean? Now, don't try to give me the meaning of it. It is one of those cop-out ways to say that though I am a Hindu, but I am not that kind of a practicing Hindu, or I don't associate with Hinduism, I am more spiritual of the kind. Am I getting across? No, now it has become a cliche which everybody uses. We used to say, no, Hinduism is not a view of life, it is a way of life. Now everybody says it. Cliches are often applicable in all circumstances and situations. Okay. Now the base root for this is there is a lack of affinity because of feeling very, how should I put it? Not feeling very proud. I'm searching that word for it. No, the defensive is once you own it, that you want to defend it. Now we drop the entire identity and say, I am no more a Hindu even. I don't even believe in those things. So that pride in being a stigma, right, that is a word. So just because I cannot face the stigma, I refuse to even recognize myself as a Hindu and feel a pride in mocking at it. That is what a Hindu, liberal Hindu has become. Now it is our job to give the right information to the next generation and to build that pride in them. Now, how does it matter in a universal outlook? It does not. Suddenly we go to the complete totalitarian standpoint. No, don't change the standpoint. It is at an individual basis. And a totality standpoint at that time ruin the logic there. The pride, the identity creates confidence. I have gone in places in this country, some remote corners wherein there are a handful of Indians and they wanted some satsang or something. So I have been there into those remote corners. The children who are growing up there are pure minority. In Plano, Carrollton, Irving, the child looks at a white-skinned guy and says, "What is this foreigner doing here?" Excuse me, you are the foreigner, not they. That is how we are here. So we may not understand the seclusion part, that when a kid grows in a secluded environment, wherein does not like to associate starting from the brown skin, does not like to associate with the food, does not like to associate with the culture, custom, traditions, though they are brilliant, they're amazing, genuinely brilliant kids. But somewhere in them, being who they are, where they are born, lack of that confidence does not give them that penetrating outlook to pierce through the outside world and competition to stand for themselves. This identity and the clarity in that identity creates that confidence. To be comfortable in the skin that you are in. To be who you are and yet be proud of it. And that is exactly what we need to instill at that age group. Otherwise, the mindset would be that, why am I born brown? I don't like to take this Indian food. I don't like Indian food. It's okay to love other cuisines. I'm a cook, I understand. I love other cuisines as well. But to be born from that hatred because I cannot stand anything to do with Indian. When the parents start finding the children do that, many a parent come to this environment called Chinmaya Mission to Indianize their kids. Not to build their confidence or pride in their traditions, culture and Sanatana Dharma, but purely to a cultural standpoint of Indianization, brownification. You are born brown, now adapt to being a brown. Brownification is their purpose. And you see that the parents' disinterest in any other things happening. Oh, I don't care. And these are the ones who probably drop their kids off hanging in Starbucks, hanging in Tom Thumb, doing their chores at Costco. I'm pointing fingers in the exact direction. Once there was Swami Ramakrishnananji here, and he did not realize the Sunday schedule back to back to back. So after the second session, he was like, by the second session, he was like, I need a good coffee. So I knew that he would be there. I said, they will chant, you just be there. Teach them this particular shloka from Bhagavad Gita. By then I'll get you your coffee. Then we can swap. Little did the crowd understand that I would be absent, and I reached to the Starbucks. Right here. There was a group outside, there was a group inside. So I ordered the coffee and went to every table and stood. Providing enough discomfort. So they were trying to give me the reason as to why they were there. So I said, no, I'm just noting down your faces. I better be seeing you in the session, during the session from next week. I think I should do that once in a while. once in 3 months a short visit to these places, and it's almost like lassoing them and bringing them back. I am your shepherd. Amen. So these are the minds wherein they would want to alienate themselves as much as possible, but when the kids come in and they Indianize them. That is not the only purpose. To instill that faith, instill that through that faith to build that confidence in who they are and the pride, so that they don't need to look back twice in trying to justify where they are or who they are. And once that is done with all the other talents that are already there in them, they can spearhead into the world as a sharp dart without any wobbling in their attitude or tendencies. That has to be built, and it is a huge responsibility of every parent to build that in a child. Otherwise, there is another technical word they use: whitewashed. Have you heard of it? No. Irving and Plano kids are brown washed. We are not only proud that we are brown, we will brown wash the white also. Whitewashed is when there is too much of the white influence and you don't have the pride to be brown. Right? Coming from the mindset wherein the parents themselves are not comfortable in the skin that they are. They need Fair and Lovely, they need Fair Ever. Oh, Fair and Handsome these days for men. And then during the weddings, try to search for that bride who is on the brighter side of the color. No, wheatish is not sufficient. White wheatish. When we parents ourselves come from that background, to expect the mindset of the kid to accept, appreciate the skin that they are in becomes hypocritical. So it becomes a responsibility of us to instill that confidence in them as to who they are. And then in the later ages, wherein 10th, 11th and 12th is when we try to give them the tools to work with. And this is where an intense debate on all these points are a must. So that all their inhibitions, wrong ideas are aired out. Let them air it out. Let them come as bluntly as possible. Fine. You don't take it as personally and feel offended and now go back in a defensive mode and whack them out. No. Allow them. Let it be an sahana vavatu, sahanav bhunaktu. Let us come into this environment with an open mindset wherein whatever that you are coming with, if it is not in the right direction, let me take that effort not from a defensive standpoint, but from a standpoint of offering the best possible direction so that the child grows out confidently. That day is not far wherein the Indians back in India love everything coming from America, even though it was made in India, purchased in America and gifted there. Far is not that day wherein the Indians will follow Hinduism because of us who follow Hinduism to the dot. Unse jaake seekho. That should be the way that these children come out. Now, what is the purpose of all this? Is not to make them a best Hindu. To instill these Hindu values in them so that definitely they are a better Hindu, but more a requirement of the day is to be a better human being, or the best human being that we as Hindus can offer to the society. That should be the criteria. And that responsibility lies on our shoulders. And that can happen through healthy debate system. Clear? Now I take a pause. We are celebrating Gurudev's 100th year, and the first event to mark that would be the movie that is releasing next week or the weekend. Friday is Gurudev's Jayanti, birthday, and we are releasing the movie on that day. It is very convenient. TGIF. Thank Gurudev, it is Friday. And we are releasing the first show here at Phanesia in Richardson, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays, it will be 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Similarly, the following weekend, 15th May, it will be 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. the Friday. And Saturdays and Sundays, 16th and 17th, it will be 12 to 2 p.m. Now, the online booking is open. Do you know that online booking is open? Okay. Because you all are registered, if you go into that registration and look in, you will have the opportunity to buy the tickets online. No, I know I have just done the testing. So, online, our Saket website, with our registration, when we log in, one of the options that you find is the tickets. So, you can buy the tickets online. But even better is the tickets are available on the front desk right now for all the 6 shows. So pick the show and take the ticket, and take not just for yourself and your family, but for your friends as well. And this is not from the standpoint to do the sales pitch for the tickets. I don't care about the sales pitch. In fact, if we were to make a profit out of it, I could have put the ticket at $20, but black में बेचते हैं. दस का बीस, 10 का 20, 10 का 20, 10 का 20, 10 का 20. I could have done that. No, you can create the hype and sell it on. That's how most of the movies are sold. You have to be good salesman at Das Kavis. So the tickets are available right outside. The purpose of the sale is that everybody has heard of Gurudev, but very few know the details of his life as to what made him Swami Chinmayananda. So it is my personal request to each one to make sure that you spread that word and make sure that every one of you sees it. So after lunch, when we start the session again, I will ask for a hands show as to how many of you have the tickets. How many of you already have the tickets? Good. I'm really proud of you. The rest of you, I'll be really proud of you. After lunch, because you will have the opportunity to make me proud. So buy the tickets which are outside. Am I clear? Okay. Now with Madhavi Mehta, she has a list that you need to sign off and sign in with all the books. Especially we are talking about the hardbound books, reference books that many of you have taken. Even if you are continuing in the same grade, we still want you to check in and check it out so that we know that the book is there. So find her during lunchtime and get that through. So No, let me correct that. They are buying the tickets today. Suppose you need tickets for your friends. We are open Monday to Thursday. Tell me the timings. 7 to 8:30 p.m. Thank you. Huh. So I almost felt like. Thank you, Amma. Haji? Huh. We'll come to that. Yes. Another reason to buy the tickets is next year theme is Gurudev's life, which will be the stage presentation for all the grades. So the coordinators will explain you the details. I'll also touch upon it. So we'll do that after lunch. When she said half of you enter from here, half of you from there, I almost felt like Asrani. आधे इधर जाओ, आधे उधर जाओ, बाकी मेरे पीछे. With that funny note, let's chant Purnamadaha, and then we chant the Brahmarpanam, and then go down for upload. Oh, thank you, Amma. Before we go down for upload, all of you who are spread out everywhere, please come back. We'll have a group photo and then go outside. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.